and you and I may disagree on this, which is...
I'll be a bit of a devil's advocate on this one, because I know
good.
that economics has a broader context.
Why is the economist the hero in the electric vehicle story?
I tend to think of them as the enemy in some ways, because they tend to look at the holy dollar, and we keep doing what we do well and stay doing it and resist change. And you could look at the legacy car manufacturers. They have fought really hard to not build electric cars, because that means money spent that they have to put into the new manufacturing and laying off workers. So that's a change, and it's always been in the past. In a disruptive transition, the legacy people lose. So they're fighting really hard and using the economic arguments and a whole lot of others to effectively lie about the change in order to maintain that status quo. And I sort of see economics as, if only focus on the dollar, that looks good, but it's also brought us to the situation where we have massive climate change, massive inequality in the world, massive unhappiness in the world, because they don't measure those things. But I take it back a little bit, because economists should be broader than that, and the new Federal Labor Finance Minister is actually bringing in, as part of the budget process, a measure of human happiness, I think it is, or something like that, as part of the budget process. If it broadens, that's good. At the moment, economists, I think most people view them as the people that turn the dollar into the holy dollar, and morality and everything else goes out the window. So, over to you.
I have to stick up for economists.
Yes, that's how I was being a devil's advocate.
I have to do that, because my view is, in terms of electric vehicles, it's the economists that have said the climate is changing for the worst. There is a bad human cost coming to us very quickly, and whereas economists would usually say, let market principles determine where we go, they're not saying that with electric vehicles. They're saying electric vehicles are very important to reduce our emissions, and I think vehicles in Australia produce around 11% of our carbon emissions.
It's about 19%, I think.
19.
That's all transport. That's heavy transport cars.
Right, I was just looking.
Passenger vehicles might be 11.
And so they've said this is not acceptable, and they're encouraging government, unsuccessfully so far in Australia, to subsidise electric vehicles, to put them in more garages, in more homes, to reduce emissions. So I see them being at the absolute coalface of change, because they're the ones that have really told government, no, this isn't an economic argument per se, it's a human habitat argument, and you need to intervene.
Yeah, my point was that economists are viewed as, they don't look at that side of the equation. So as I say, I was being more the devil's advocate, because I think the common person's perception of an economist is seeing it as they focus on the dollar and not the broader picture. If they're focusing on a broader picture, and I know that some of them do with carbon accounting, I do a 5-yearly carbon account of electric vehicles driven on the grid in Australia, and that is slowly improving. You can watch the grid improve and the electric vehicle improves with it, which is good, and which is something that the internal combustion engine car could never do. But it's just that tension, I suppose, between what people think of economists as the dollar only and the broader context of when will economics become seen as a broader context, or it should be, and probably is by many in niche areas of it, but when will it take over the full thinking of economy? So you have the environment, you have people's happiness, you have equality and morality all built into economics. Or are they now, and it's just we don't notice?
Economics is not a science, but a social science, Bryce, and a lot of people forget the social side of it. So it does exist.